Perth, 96 FM with Clairsy and Lisa, and Dave Warner's from the suburbs, just a suburban boy getting us underway again. It's 8:07.
We would be singing a Men at Work song to 1,200 people, and Men at Work would be down the road.
Not only did the people party in the venues, but the bands. It was a way of life.
Clairsy and Lisa's Perth Pub Crawl.
Yes, continuing the pub crawl today by popular demand, the suburban boy from the suburb of Bicton, I think, Dave Warner. Hello.
Hey, Dave, welcome.
Yeah, hi guys. Yes, you're quite right. From Bicton.
From Bicton.
Currently in Sydney,
Yes,
but
yes.
from Bicton, and a fine suburb it is too.
Yes,
And a magnificent
absolutely.
suburb. And
yes.
worth a lot more, Dave, than the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, and when the quarantine station was down there.
Yeah. Beautiful part of the world.
We've been doing this for a couple of weeks, reminiscing about that incredibly vibrant pub scene in the 80s, and we have had so many requests from our listeners saying, you got to get Dave Warner from the suburbs. Is it nice?
Fantastic.
Nice to be wanted.
Nice to be loved, Dave.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is. And so thank you all the people who requested, and I've had great feedback. Even over here in Sydney, people have been telling me that they're really enjoying it and looking forward to the segment. So
Fantastic.
Unreal.
Well,
Into our third week.
it was an incredible scene. Did you have a favourite venue that you used to perform at?
Look, I think for us, probably the Shenton Park, which we kind of kicked that venue off, really, and in the Tahitian Room, as it was known initially.
Nice.
Oh, very fancy.
Yeah. Tahitian room.
But look, so many of them were great, but that worked for us very well. But look, there were so many great venues: the Herdsman, the Raffles, Overflow. All of them, and so many places, and it's just so dynamic. 6 nights a week there, or 7 nights a week, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, it was
You could
so
go
much
7
work.
nights a week, and some did.
Yeah, and some fans came to every gig. Yeah. Hey, Dave, we've just heard Suburban Boy, and I played it a few times at home yesterday. There was nothing like it on Australian radio at the time with that swirling keyboard, that organ sound, and the punk kind of attitude. Did you have an inkling you'd written an Aussie classic, an Aussie anthem at the time?
I did. Look, honestly, I wrote it in 1972. I was driving along Kwinana Freeway and watching it was kind of a drizzly, wet day, and the windscreen wipers were going, and I was really convinced that I had written a hit song, but it took 6 years for it to become a hit, so there was no easy path to it. But I was really convinced in that song from the start, and it was kind of a bit of an enunciation about what my whole attitude to music was about, so it worked well, but it did take its time to come to fruition.
Quick drive, too. I reckon in 1972, the Kwinana Freeway only went as far as Leach Highway.
It didn't go very far, did it?
It was only later. And guess what? It's still being, roadworks are still on it. Dave, before the suburbs, you were in a band that was considered Australia's first punk band. Probably that's why it was called Puss. That was kind of prime punk era. What were the audiences like here for that?
Yeah, well, it was a small but very dedicated, what you would call a cult audience. We played, our first gigs were at the Governor Broome Hotel, which is now where the Perth Theatre Centre sits in Northbridge there.
Yeah.
And then we graduated to the Red Lion Hotel run by Marty McDonnell.
Oh, wow.
Marty
Red
McDonnell,
Lion.
Foot guy.
Some might remember Marty from World of Football. He was my mate, Michael McDonnell. Marty was his dad, and we said, "Oh, Marty, can we have a gig?" So he gave us a gig in this back room, and it was fantastic. And the audiences, look, we probably rarely got over 100 to 120 people there, but they were highly committed, and the gigs were fully charged. As you say, it was kind of punk before punk. And a few of the songs that later became songs that I played with Dave Warner's from the suburbs, but we would do other songs, Frank Zappa and Fug songs and Lou Reed songs and stuff. It was, a really good time.
Oh, you got to love it. What about that following, mate? Was it that got Michael Gudinski's attention to get you signed on to Mushroom?
Look, it was quite interesting. What happened was there was a couple of people at, I think, Peter Grace, Sydney DJ.
Yes,
Gracie,
Gracie, yep.
Yeah, well, he was he was at 6PR at the time, and he was the mate of Gudinski's, and also another couple of people. One of them, Ian Smith, Smithy, the late Ian Smith, who was road manager for Sid Rumpo originally when they went east. Yep. And Smithy, another East Fremantle boy, and he, both he and Gracie was telling Gudinski that they had to sign me, and then I had this little 8-track live recording that we did at the Shenton Park Hotel and the Victoria Hotel in about 1977, and I just did blank cassettes and sold them off to the audience, and they found their way east, and that was great for us because it meant that places in the east, a lot of the bands in those days, the roadies would hear tapes that they liked and they'd play them through the PA system before the main bands came on. So people were hearing our music over there, not via a radio station, but at the live gigs, you know. It created a kind of demand. So it was really good timing for us.
With the exception of the Charles, with its original carpet, I'm sure, there's not many of those places left, Dave. Do you know the Shenton Park is now a retirement
establishment?
I'm aiming to go full circle to end up there again.
It's quite sad, I suppose, really. But then again, most of the people of my generation now probably prefer to sit down in a theatre.
True. You play... Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, but we did last tour of Perth. We played the Port Beach Brewery, which was a fantastic venue.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so that was a great venue, and there's some fabulous smaller venues around the place, like the Duke of George in East Fremantle is a great smaller venue for people. So there's still some venues there, but it's not like the days before where people could decide to go to 3 different venues. I don't like that band. Let's go to the next one.
You could be fussy.
Yeah.
Yeah, or can't get in to see Dick and the Dames at the Overflow. So we'll go and see Warner at the Charles as a backup.
Yeah.
Dick and the Dames doing the Rhythm of Life at the end of the gig. Unreal.
You've played with the likes of Men at Work, Midnight Oil, In Excess, Dragon and Skyhooks. Who was the most fun to play with? My money's on Skyhooks for some reason.
They were. Well, Shirley was great mates, and I became really, really good friends with Greg McCainch from Skyhooks.
Yeah.
And we've worked on stuff and worked together. So they were terrific. But look, the Dragon Boys were fun too. All of those people were terrific. I don't think I've had any bad experiences that I can think of with any of those great bands that we played with. At the time I played soccer with Men at Work, we were playing soccer in Adelaide the day that Down Under was released.
Really?
Awesome.
Yeah, and we were staying at the same motel and kicking the ball around with Colin Hay. And I said to him, I said, look, I reckon this is going to be the best Aussie single since Friday on My Mind. And he said, I hope so.
I hope so.
This is going to go all right.
Then he was at the Grammys, Best New Artist, and it just took off from there. Hey, Dave, in your career, mate, musically, I mean, you've done so much with your writing and the rest of it with TV and movies, but in your career, was there one time that you were starstruck? Because I know Dylan had some kind words to say about you.
Yeah, well, I never got to meet Bob Dylan, but I did meet his... I met his band.
Yes.
And they all came and saw us and gave us tickets to the concert, and they were really great. But yes, look, in 1972 in Perth, I got to meet Phil Oakes, the great songwriter contemporary of Bob Dylan. And he was such a lovely guy, and went and saw him off at the airport, and I was definitely starstruck, and I found him very inspirational with his music, and very sadly he took his life about not too many years after that, but great singer-songwriter and performer. So I was certainly starstruck with him.
Absolutely. Phil Oakes, well, gone way too soon.
Clairsy just touched on the writing. You are an author, a screenwriter and a playwright. That's pretty impressive writing skills there.
Well, listen, as anybody in the kind of pop cultural art scene in Australia knows, you've got to do lots of things to survive, and So, but I have enjoyed it. Oh, I always liked writing books and plays and things. So it was a kind of a natural fit for me to do that. And I love being creative. I love keeping my just sort of brain going on all those things, and still love playing.
It's kind of a one-stop shop, really, because if you're writing novels and then you can then develop them for screen or stage if you're a screenwriter and playwright.
I have done that on a couple of times without them.
Yeah.
And because it's so hard, you write a screenplay and you think this is a great idea, but it costs, $30 million to make, and very few people in Australia ever make those.
Yep.
So you can turn it into a book, and that's a lot cheaper to make.
Yeah. Face it, mate, you're a triple threat, but it's just a different kind of triple threat. You don't need to dance. You're all good. Hey, mate, we talked about it earlier, about the demand for people wanting to hear you in this 3 weeks we're doing here. But the fans, you can't ever knock the fans. Their loyalty has been amazing, hasn't it, throughout the years?
Oh, absolutely. I think the Suburbs fans, many of them have become personal friends over the time, and I've seen their kids grow up and that sort of thing. But they have been incredibly loyal to me, and I just appreciate it so much because it means I can keep doing whatever the next thing is. If people buy a T-shirt or a book or something, you can go and do it. And it just, there are times you think, is there any point in doing this? And just somebody writes you a note or drops you a line and says, that song changed my life, or I love that book. And it makes a really big difference to you, I can say. I'm sure I speak for everyone. But, I've been on stage playing at the Charles, and some guys rang me, and their mate was dying in Darwin, and they just wanted to hear Convict Street. So I played it for him, on his last day. And I've had songs played at people's funerals. They've told me, so they're really emotional, think you've sort of travelled through life with someone.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You've had an impact. I want to get one of those Suburban Soldiers T-shirts. I'm going to buy one of those online. I like the look of those. Very nice.
And performing at shows now, performing to the people that came to see you originally and the new generation, and I reckon we're just about getting into a third generation of people that are coming to some of those shows.
Yeah, well, I'd love to get more and more younger people. It's still predominantly older, and I get a few who tumble down. But it's great sometimes you're playing in a place and people have no idea who you are. They've got no idea of the backstory.
Yeah.
It's just some young backpackers or something wander in and hear it, and they go, oh, wow, I really enjoyed it. So I think for us older people, it's terrific. Musos, it's great when you play and you strike a chord with young people.
Multi-generations.
Yeah.
And the other thing, mate, a lot of people leave Perth and go and make a name for themselves. You've never been forgotten in Perth. That's a sweet thing, and testament to the last 3 weeks of people contacting us.
Yeah, well, look, it is really still home, and I think, like most of the people of my time, you didn't really have any alternative but to leave Perth if you wanted to pursue something
like Boys and Men Excess.
Film, television or music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Different kettle of fish now, of course. A lot to do with the way music is produced, but you just had no choice. Another thing that people, a lot of the bands we've talked to about this time, they felt pressured to do covers. How did you feel, about the whole covers versus original stuff?
Look, I always felt that what I wanted to do was original music. Yeah. And if I did covers, I did do a few covers, and I did that. But I always tried to pick something that was different or do it a different way.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I wasn't one of the people. It became quite vituperative to use that word. Some people in the original scene really disliked cover band people. I never found that. I mean, I just thought we were all musicians, and you do what you do and what suits you. And I saw bands like Loaded Dice that I mentioned, and Decanes, who were a cover band essentially for a long, long time. They did an album. But the energy that they brought to a show was, to me, took it to another level, and it was exciting as if I'd walked down to the cabin and was seeing the Beatles, So, I mean, how do you quantify those things?
If it's good, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. And if it makes you feel good. So,
exactly.
But play to your strengths, and for me that was I wasn't a good enough musician to do all those tricky. I had to write my own stuff to make it simple,
Yeah, you're right about Dick Haynes, mate. You used to go to Sunday session at the Hurdies and see Dick and the Dames in the day on a Sunday, and he was hilarious on stage. He may not get away with it in 2024, but he was a funny bugger, but he is a funny man. But you must have seen some funny things on stage with a lot of larrikins rolling up the gigs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I played with the funniest of them all. My right-hand man, Johnny Leopard, was probably... I think he was peerless in terms of Australian rock guitarist. He had this incredible animated face. He was really, really quick, witty, and funny, and we could just riff off something verbally on stage, and he'd pick up where I was going, and he was really unique. And anybody who saw him from overseas, like we'd support bands like the Stranglers or something, they just couldn't believe Leopard. And a great regret of mine is that we didn't get a chance to play overseas with that band at that height, because I think places like Los Angeles, the Viper Room would have loved Leopard.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Live and dangerous.
Well, Dave Warner from the suburbs, it has been an absolute treat for all of us this morning to reminisce with you. Thanks for being part of it.
Good to catch up, mate.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for keeping the vibe alive. I know it means a lot to musicians of my era and hopefully to the fans, but it was a great time, and I was so fortunate to be part of it.
Yeah. On your Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Yeah. So, see you, gang.
See you, man. Dave Warner. He'd always
Warner.
be a Perthy to us, won't he? Even though he's in Sydney.
He sounds just the same.
He does, doesn't he?
Yep.
Love that. I hope you enjoyed that. And who's going to be on tomorrow?
Oh, yes, we'll tell you shortly. If you've got any memories to share, feel free to text us on 0476 96 96 96. And any photos, of course, from the time that you'd like to share with us, send us a Facebook message or email us at breakfast@96fm.com.au.
Absolute treat to talk to Dave Warner. What a career, multi-talented man. It's 23 after 8.
Text Clairsy and Lisa anytime during the show. 0476 96 96 96. Better music and more of it. 96.